So for this next segment, what we call the power of collaboration. Over the next hour, we will be inspired by results of the collaborative work of turning the ideas that were generated at the 2018 Global Maritime Forum's annual summit in Hong Kong into tangible action. Now, Peter is known for saying what happens in Hong Kong should not stay in Hong Kong. And indeed, nothing stayed in Hong Kong, as I'm sure that you'll find out over the course of the next hour or so. In conversations with representatives of some of the key initiatives from 2018, we will learn more about what they set out to achieve, where they are now, what got them here, and what collaboration and leadership they see as necessary to succeed as we move forward into the future. So with that, let's get started with our first panel. May I please invite up for the Together in Safety panel, Mr. Grahaeme Henderson, Grahaeme Westgarth, and Sarah Waite. Of course, thank you. Please welcome them to the stage. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. So, point of clarity to start with. Grahaeme, Sarah. We did consider whether it would be easier just to change my name to Grahaeme and make it simple, but I wasn't going for that idea. So it's our pleasure to be here with you today. We are excited and proud to be able to share with you the progress that the group has made on Together in Safety. I will start by sharing with you our journey so far. Grahaeme will then take us through some of the delivery items that we have got through already in the past year. And then Grahaeme will land on why now it is important more than ever that we continue on our safety journey. So let me start first of all by taking you back in time. So a year ago, many of you here in this room today would have been part of creating a vision. A vision of a zero-accident maritime industry, where leaders and sectors are united together with the sole intention of keeping our seafarers safe. And I hope many of you here today who were there at Hong Kong remember that vision being created. We're looking at working together as how we can make that happen. And at that moment, Together in Safety was born. We looked at developing the key principles of Together in Safety, and they were clear to us from the outset. And I'd like to take you through some of those principles now today. Firstly is that Together in Safety would act as a non-regulatory industry consortium, where we are connected with that common purpose, which is to improve safety. To work together across the industry and across the sector, working through our industry bodies. To learn from each other and to share best practices across the sectors. To commit to a free exchange of information without fear of consequence and without the worry of any competitive advantage being lost. To adopt a common language and terminology that's clear and easy to understand for everybody. And to seek to standardize across our entire industry. Now, we did not for 1 second underestimate the enormity of that challenge. After all, if it was easy, it would have been done a long time ago. But we were determined, we were driven to make an impactful and everlasting difference to the industry. And so in 2018, 3 themes were identified as being core and critical to the success of Together in Safety. The first, leadership, whereby the actions of leaders, the actions of you in the room today, matter more than you think. The second, accountability. After all, no one else is going to do this for us. It truly is up to us. And the third, collaboration, whereby we come together, and by coming together, we have the power to make a difference. So what progress have we made? So since Hong Kong, the coalition team have met together several times, and our first action was to determine how and where Together in Safety fits and the part that it has to play. We would look at working alongside our industry bodies, and we have industry bodies that are part of the Together in Safety coalition. And we set about developing a charter, and I hope that many of you have had the opportunity to glance over that charter that was included in part of your pre-read. We was looking at developing a simple articulation of the structure of Together in Safety and agreeing those principles that I mentioned. Now, I talk to you as if developing that charter was an easy task. The secret is it truly wasn't. It took a lot of iterations. After which shipping, nothing gets done quickly, right? We had many a discussion to really ensure that the charter that we set about, that articulated the role that we would play, was very clear to everybody. And it was important that we did get that right. So I hope today that you will join us in our journey of furthering Together in Safety. And I'd like to hand over to Grahaeme, who will share with you the work that we've achieved so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And just to distinguish between us, I'm the handsome one. So actually, it's Grahaeme with an A and Grahaeme with an E. So I think that's it. So let me take the next few minutes to basically talk to you about what we've done, what we've physically done in the last 12 months. So as well as the development of the safety charter, the group have been working collectively on 3 specific topics while exploring one other. And my intent is to just talk briefly about each of these. So let me start with leadership. That's been mentioned already several times in the room today. I believe everyone in this room is aware of the impact leaders have on their organizations, not just in what they say, but more importantly in how they act. So based on this, we developed a set of 5 key behaviors which we feel are fundamental for leaders to embrace to promote a safety culture within their organizations. At a very high level, these are setting a clear vision and painting a picture of success for others to follow, accepting personal ownership and ensuring others do the same, addressing unsafe conditions with action, responding positively and decisively to safety challenges, inspiring others through communication. So these behaviors are covered in more detail in the pre-read, and our goal is to have them adopted as industry-wide best practices. Just to point to an anecdote, I distributed the document to my leadership team in V.Group, and without any instruction. And within 2 weeks, almost every one of the leaders actually had them posted on their wall, which I think demonstrates that the themes resonate with people. It means something. So turning now to collaboration. Under this theme, we focused on 2 areas. Firstly, we discussed best practice sharing, and we shaped a set of safety rules that everyone in the industry will understand, can commit to, and follow. Most of the rules are not new, and they'll be well known to all of us, I think, in this room. They've included in this booklet, which I believe will be available to everyone during the course of the next 2 days, and it's called Golden Safety Rules. And they cover areas such as confined space entry, fall prevention, hot work, navigation. And these are areas where, as an industry, we have seen the same incidents again and again and again. As an ex-navigator, my favorite is under navigation, and which is, let me see, find it here. And it starts by saying, you must always look out of the window. And And that really resonated with me because that's what I used to tell my young officers, because the eyeball is actually the best navigational instrument that you can ever have. So just to, so it will be distributed, and I would encourage you to read it. The second area under collaboration is data sharing. And currently there's no standardization across our industry when we look at regarding to classification of incidents, and this really creates barriers to accurately analyze safety on an industry scale. So standardization, we believe, will allow better quality and more efficient analysis, and therefore more accurate insights. So Together in Safety, the group Together in Safety is striving to move the industry towards an anonymous, independent database which is capable of collecting data across all sectors. Now, we know that that's an elephant in the room. There's a real fear, I think, in this industry of sharing information, sharing data, in case it will be used against us or used by others to gain competitive advantage. As leaders, I think we need to rise above such an attitude and focus on doing the right thing. Finally, we have looked at how we can learn from other industries, namely the airline industry. So there have been several meetings with IATA, the International Air Transport Association, exploring areas of common interest and identifying how we can facilitate sharing and learning. So areas we've agreed to cooperate on are global standards for safety, handling dangerous cargo, and collecting, reporting, and mapping incident data. So there's more work to be done. So to conclude this particular part of the presentation, I feel that the progress that's been made in 1 year has been outstanding. And this is primarily because a very significant number of industry groups, as well as individual companies, have embraced the challenge, committed time and resource to putting safety first. And we have the opportunity over the next 2 days to add further momentum and commitment to the efforts to date, and let's make sure that we don't miss that opportunity. So let me now hand you over to Grahaeme with an E to conclude our session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Grahaeme. And we've made great progress in just 1 year. And as I look around me, there are a number of colleagues and friends who've been absolutely paramount in making that progress. I would like to thank you, and let me ask the room to thank you too. Now, what I'd like to talk about is why safety is so important and why we must always make sure that safety is our #1 agenda item. And I'd like to do this by looking at 3 reasons. The first one is what I'll call the statistical reason. The second one is a business reason. And the third one, well, let me say, it's the real reason. Let me start with the statistical reason. Just glance around this room. Look at each other. Look at the number of people that are in this room. This is the number of people that are killed in the shipping industry every 8 weeks. Yes, every 8 weeks. Multiply that up by 6, and you get the number of people that are killed every year in the shipping industry. A UK study showed that shipping has one of the worst safety performances of any industry in the world. Working in shipping, you are 5 times more likely to have a fatal accident than working in construction. And if we turn to suicide, of all of those fatalities I talked about, 6% of them are confirmed suicide. And if we take cases which were not quite clear, it could be as much as 15%. That is 6 to 15 times the suicide rate in the UK. These are appalling statistics, and we need to change that now. Let me turn to the business reason. If you have a fatal accident, it will cost you dearly in monetary terms. It will take a lot of your time. Your company will lose its reputation. You will lose your personal reputation. You could even lose your job. But let me turn this round the other way. If you put safety as your top agenda item, if you show the people that work for you that you really, really care for them, they'll want to work for you. They'll want to do a great, great job for you. So we have a very compelling statistical reason and a very compelling business reason. But now let me tell you the real reason. I want to go back to when I worked in Port Harcourt in Nigeria. There was a terrible accident offshore, and a man was killed in horrific circumstances. I knew that man. His name was Joseph. He was a friend of mine. I went to his funeral. As I stand here now, I remember the day. I can see vividly the church. And at the front of the church were his 3 daughters. They were aged 8, 6, and 2. They spoke about their father. They spoke about how they loved him so much and how they're going to miss him. I often think about those 3 young girls, and I think, where are they now? And what has life been without their father? You see, an accident doesn't just last a day, a week, or a year, but it lasts a lifetime and more. And time never heals. Now you might be thinking, well, it's Nigeria. Things like that don't happen where I operate. They don't happen in this part of the world. Sadly, you'd be very, very wrong. These accidents I talk about happen everywhere. In fact, the most serious accident that happened last year in 2018, where 32 people were killed following a collision, an explosion and a fire, that happened not too far from here. We have in this room the leaders of the shipping industry. We have the power in this room to make a difference. Let's work as one global team. Let's be together in safety. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grahaeme Henderson, Grahaeme Westgarth, and Sarah Waite. Thank you very much. Another round of applause, please.